dinnertable.com came from studying over the last 10 years. My mission has been, how do I find the best 100 families in the world? Okay. It's not just a financial number I was looking at. I was looking at how did they raise kids, grandkids, and great grandkids to blow by the previous generation in every metric. Family values, mindsets, skill sets, their impact in the world, their financial competencies, like all of that. If you do that 4 times in a row in a family, you're doing something, man. Mm-hmm. And so we basically have this recipe to true family legacy. And that's what I consider legacy. It's not just the dollars you die with. I don't believe in that. It's legacy, a last name that means something for generations to come.
Welcome back to the Wealth Eazy Show, where we talk all things wealth, health, and real estate. Today, folks, I got a real special treat for you. Parents, listen up. Today, we're going to be discussing financial education for our children, and we're probably going to figure out what we're doing wrong. And to lead this conversation is Scott Donnell, creator of Gravy Stack, a game that teaches kids about money. He's a Wall Street Journal best-selling author of Value Creation Kid and the Healthy Struggles Your Children Need to Succeed. Scott has served over 6 million families. He's been featured on Bloomberg, Fox News, NBC News, ABC News. The list just keeps going. Please welcome to the show, Scott Donnell.
Great to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. I'm really excited. I'm looking forward to this conversation because I think this is a conversation that needs to get out there, and we got to spread the word on financial literacy for children. So give us a 2-minute bio on yourself, because I know you've been really busy since sharing the stage with Tony Robbins.
Yeah, it's been wild, man. It's been a whirlwind. I had a bunch of companies, and I've never been busier than right now. And my expertise, believe it or not, is building self-multiplying companies that don't need me. Yeah. But we're in the growth phase and the build phase of this one, so it's taken the world by storm. So we've helped about 7 million families now throughout all of our companies, and this issue of financial literacy, man, it's people don't know how to teach it. The parents have no roadmap to raise their kids to be good with money. And schools don't teach it. In fact, what we've learned now, you can't homework money. You just can't homework it. There's no way like that. You can't give a 12-year-old a debits and credits sheet and say, there, now you can budget for the rest of your life. You can't talk to a kid about investing and it doesn't work. Like if they don't actually deal in real money, they don't learn a thing. You can't. Yeah, go ahead.
Why do you think schools are not teaching this? Because, I had a client. I was in the wealth management business for 17 years as a portfolio manager. And I literally had a client come in and he had to write a check, and he passed the checkbook to me. He says, can you help me fill this out? This is a 29-year-old police officer who didn't know how to write a check. Why are they not teaching this in school, Scott?
They can't. I'll just stop all the protests and the complaints. They can't. So I advise NEFI and Jumpstart and all these national regulatory bodies. First of all, most of them are filled with poli-sci majors. Okay, we'll start there. All right. They don't fully work with kids or don't have CFPs or anything like that. And they're writing curriculum that feels like you got it off of Google, and they give it to states that go find 5 or 10 teachers to turn into curriculum. And teachers don't know this stuff. How are you going to get a teacher that's making 50 grand a year that's in debt, credit card debt, school debt, that doesn't know personal finance? They're not trained. How are you going to get them to teach that to children? Like, it's one thing to learn math, but how did trigonometry help you with taxes? How does algebra help you with monthly budgeting? I mean, this is the problem that we're seeing. The kids, trust me, man, I have I created Apex, the largest school fundraiser in America. Okay. We've helped millions and millions of families. We've raised $1 billion for schools. We're in 10,000 schools across America. I'm watching this happen every day. This is why we're doing Gravy Stack, the bank for kids. It's why we're doing dinnertable.com, which teaches these family money skills courses and how to have true family legacy and all that kind of stuff. We're doing this because schools are not teaching any of it and they just don't know how, and you can't homework this stuff. So kids learn in two ways, okay? Fun and real life experience. That's it.
If it's not fun for them, they don't want to do it. It's got to be fun.
Yeah. And it's got to be real life experience so that they get practical skills and capabilities to succeed out in the real world.
Yeah.
So much of education is you're jumping to these complex or hypothetical or theoretical things, right? I just saw a video of one of our dinner table members. She stood up at her local municipality. It was like a big council, school board council. And she was 19 years old. And she literally said, here's what I didn't learn in school. I didn't learn how to earn, save, spend, share, invest, protect, keep myself safe online, nothing about taxes, nothing about insurance, no protection, and borrow. But here's the quadratic formula. And she goes on to read a plus 2 minus over square root of 2a, whatever. And then she says, there's a problem. And she went through all of the issues of what the school system isn't teaching. And I think it really comes down to this. There's no school in America that's going to take the next step, which is you got to have kids dealing with real money. You can't give your kid $10 to go put in the offering plate at church and expect them to be generous for life. They just gave your money. You can't even do allowance. Allowance is giving your kids money for existing, and it's socialism.
Yeah,
it's codependency to the max. 100%. And your kids do not need to learn how to spend your money.
Yeah.
They will either spend your money or hoard it because they're nervous and anxious and fearful. They have to learn to earn. Like that's the only way it works. And then you have to actually make it fun and motivational for them to learn these things before they leave the home, or else most kids in our studies, we studied thousands and thousands of families before we launched any of this. These families actually reported two things. Mom and dad, 98% said we have no roadmap and we were never taught this growing up. Help. Kids, teenagers, young kids, even college kids we studied, guess what they said? We don't want to talk about money. It's the biggest fight in our house.
Do you think, I know growing up, and I think this is for a lot of homes, that discussing money at the dinner table is taboo.
Taboo.
And this is why we never learned. Like my family, we didn't discuss money at the table. It was, how was your day? But we don't talk about money. And I think a lot of the American households and Canadian households and just all over the world, I think a lot of the old school is we don't discuss money. But I think that's got to change. We got to change that mindset. You should be talking about money. My son is 12. I discuss money with him all the time. He comes to me and he says, Dad, can I have $7 for this video game app? And I said, no. He goes, but Dad, it's only $7. I go, it's not $7. It's not the $7. I can't afford it. It's the principle. You want $7? You tell me how you're going to earn it. You're going to earn the money. You want the $7.
Right.
And then right. I'll give it to you. So he does a little work for his mother every morning. She has a bunch of dog grooming studios, and every morning he's got to send out text messages, specials, and send out reminders. And his mother pays him $5 a day. He came to me over the weekend and he said, Dad, I've earned $50. Can I use it to buy this app? I want to play this game. You really want to spend $50 on an app? Why don't you try saving 50%? And then spend the remainder, as long as you're going to put away 50%. So he's like, okay, so I'll put 50, but can I spend on whatever I want? Yeah, as long as you save 50%, then you can spend on what you want. He literally took the $50, he gave it to me, I gave him my credit card, and he used half on an app, not the full 50. And I make him save 50%. This is what I'm doing with my kids. What are parents, what should they be doing?
Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack in what you just said, but let me just start by saying congrats. You're in the 1% of families that are actually having these conversations. Dinner,
Financial business.
yeah, good. I'm glad you're,
Yeah.
you're practicing what you preach.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have over 200 dinner table conversation starters around money and creating value and the 7 family money skills that we teach at dinnertable.com. That money is the biggest argument in the home, and parents overwhelmingly, they would rather openly talk about sex, their sex life, than money. Okay.
Yeah.
In fact, I just started talking about this recently. I actually believe that one of the conversations that no one's having around trauma is this issue of money trauma.
I heard you
Uh,
mention that on another podcast, and
yeah,
I
it's a
wanted to get
big
into
deal.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
and let's unpack that.
you hear a lot of parents. I heard my parents fighting, and I couldn't figure out what they were fighting about. And I think 9 out of 10 times when you hear your parents fighting, it's because of money. So let's. I was going to get into that, the whole money trauma thing, and how let's unpack that.
Yeah, and then we can go back to the home economy system. So before we finish, I want to make sure I teach every family out here
Yep.
exactly how to teach your kids the money side of it. Okay. But this issue of money trauma is a big deal. Most parents, they think that the mark of good parenting is making sure that their kids get all the things they never got. Right. I just want to give them all the opportunities I never had. I don't want them to have to deal with all the problems I had to deal with growing up. So what happens when you do that is entitlement. You're slowly spoiling and entitling them over and over and over again. And you don't realize that you're overcorrecting from the money traumas of your childhood. Okay. So parents usually fall in 2 categories. Either they were like silver spooned when they were young. Parents paid for everything because that was like status. That's how they showed love. They bought everything for them, and they were entitled, right?
Yep.
And that actually makes money become identity. So then you realize, oh, money is status. Oh, money is keeping up with the Joneses. Oh, shopping therapy is the total next step for me, right? They use money, or parents use money to bribe and coerce and buy love from their kids all the time,
Yeah.
especially in co-parenting situations. Single parents know exactly what we're talking about. They go to mom, they go to dad, they're trying to make them have a better experience than the other one. And it just happens their whole life. And all of a sudden they're entitled, anxious, spoiled victims, right? And then on the other side,
I'm going through that right now. I co-parent with my ex-wife.
it's a tough one.
In the beginning, it was. Luckily, we're pretty much on the same page because my son's mother grew up in a very, very privileged home. Let's just keep it there. And she realizes it. And the father, after many years, realized he once said to me, he said, if I had to do things all over again, I would not spoil my kids the way I did, because he wasn't very active. He just work. That's all he worked. And to compensate, he thought maybe giving them what they want was showing love, just like you said, buying love. That's not love.
No,
That's
bribery.
bribery. And luckily, I'm very fortunate that my son's mother and we are on the same page when it comes to how are we going to raise our son. And he needs to hear the word no. He has to hear it. And he has to be refused sometimes, because I don't want him growing up thinking that everything's a yes, because in life that's not reality. Hey everyone, it's John. I just wanted to thank you for being here, and I would ask that you please subscribe to the show by just clicking the subscribe button right here. I'd really appreciate it. It helps grow the show so we can get even more successful guests on the program to help you. If you're already subscribed, a huge thank you. When you subscribe, you're going to get access to the program before anybody else does. So if you would, just click subscribe right here. Thanks so much. And welcome back to the Wealth Easy Show.
Yeah. Yep.
Right?
And I'll venture to guess, your ex-wife's dad was raised on the other side of the fence, where It was paycheck to paycheck.
Yep.
Money was scarce, in one hand, gone the next day.
Yep.
You know, money became almost like this necessity. There was a lot of trauma, a different kind of trauma around money, right? So when they grow up, they go, I'm just going to work my butt off, hustle, provide everything that I never got for my children. And then you see this overcorrection back and forth and back and forth. And I think money trauma, at the end of the day, nobody's qualified to talk about it. I mean, it took us 7 million families to see this. Okay. Yeah. There's no counselor or therapist in the world that's talking about this. I guarantee it. But the problem with money trauma is it's the only trauma that you spend the rest of your life working for. Think about that. Yeah. Every other type of acute trauma or difficult things that happened to us in our past, we're trying to heal from, forgive, move on from in love, or just bury it away and never think about it and try to escape from it, right? Which is the wrong kind of healing of trauma. Yep. But with money trauma, you literally wake up every day and you gotta pay the bills. You gotta work, you gotta make money. And so you're literally working for this for the rest of your life. And you don't realize all the decisions you make with your children or your spouse or your employees around this trauma. And so what we have to do, and I think you're ahead of the curve in a lot of this stuff, we've got to be like open about this. Here's how we were raised. Here's what we saw. And we want to have a balanced approach with how we raise our kids. And you're exactly right. Like, kids need to go through healthy struggles of their own, which are not trauma. Okay. There's a difference between a struggle and trauma. The trauma is like abuse or neglect or even tough love, those kinds of things. But a healthy struggle is something that we get to be with our kids in by putting them through situations, just like you showed with like the $5 a day helping with the dog for your son, right? Your 12-year-old son, is that you said?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's a perfect healthy struggle for him to learn how to create value. Yep. So like in our book, Value Creation Kid, we have 90 of these healthy struggles that we want our kids to go through. Emotional skills, relational skills, business skills, practical life skills, financial skills. The more your kids can go through healthy struggles and you are with them in it, instead of like a traumatic separation, the more capabilities they earn, or the more capabilities that they get, and the more confidence they earn, inner confidence. Not like, you can't pat your kid on the back enough times to say, you're smart, you're pretty, you're gifted, you're a good writer, you're good at soccer. That's not inner confidence. Inner confidence comes from a wealth of healthy struggles that have been overcome and a tool belt full of capabilities that allow them to create value in the world. That's how you get true confidence, right? So the more we can go through these healthy cycles with our kids and teach them these things and put them in situations where they grow, the better off they're going to be. Regardless of if you're two parents in a home or one parent in a home, like if you have this conversation and you guys are aligned and the kids are actually the priority, they're going to thrive. They're going to thrive. Yeah. So yeah, man, you nailed it. Like I think so many times we use money to fill in the gap of a bunch of other issues in our lives that we've never dealt with. And what you don't heal from, you pass down. When you don't heal from something, you pass it to the next generation every single time.
That is so true. That is so true. You mentioned giving kids just an allowance is socialism, and I 100% believe that. So, what is your idea of how kids can earn money in the home?
We call it the home economy system. All right. And this works with young kids, ages 2 to 5 with the quarter system. It works with ages 6 to 18 with the home economy system. And it works with adult kids. So, because a lot of people say, oh, where were you 20 years ago? You're too late. It's too late.
It's never too late.
It's never too late. You can start right now. So we have hundreds of these gigs that kids do in college in their 20s to prepare them for the real world. Even if you haven't learned it yet, you start now. So the home economy system is what we learned from the top 100 families in the world. Okay. So let me back up a second and explain. We have dinnertable.com now, which Gravy Stack is a part of. It's a tool. It's the app, right? Gravy Stack app. You can just download it right now in the App Store and start teaching your kids the money skills. But dinnertable.com came from studying over the last 10 years. My mission has been, how do I find the best 100 families in the world? Okay. It's not just a financial number I was looking at. I was looking at how did they raise kids, grandkids, and great grandkids to blow by the previous generation in every metric. Family values, mindsets, skill sets, their impact in the world, their financial competencies, like all of that. If you do that 4 times in a row in a family, you're doing something, man. Mm-hmm. And so we basically have this recipe to true family legacy. And that's what I consider legacy. It's not just the dollars you die with. I don't believe in that. It's legacy, a last name that means something for generations to come. And so the home economy system is the second of our 18 strategies that we've learned. And this is what we teach at dinnertable.com. So the home economy system is the right way to teach your kids money in the home. Okay. Don't do allowance. And it's not even chores. So let's be careful here, because allowance and chores are like 100-year-old thinking that have never really worked. Because if you just give allowance, that's codependency. Allowance, giving kids the same amount of money every week for existing is literally socialism, right? But if you say, oh, I give my kids allowance for chores, well, time out here. Half those chores you should never pay for. Those are their role in the home, the expectations, we call them.
It's their contribution.
That's their contribution. Those should never be tied to money. And the other half of those chores needs to be a never-ending list of ways that they can earn per chore. Okay? Mm-hmm. And you got to stop calling it chores, because kids think chores and they think more homework and they turn off to it, and you have fighting over it all the time, right? And then the worst of all is when parents go, no, don't worry. We don't do allowance. Our kids just do all their chores like they're told. Well, if that's happening, now they're not earning any money and you're paying for everything. So now you're slowly entitling by financing their life. And the bank of mom and dad is going to be open for decades to come. All right.
Yeah.
So the home economy solves it. So it's 3 E's: expectations, expenses that you give them, and extra pay opportunities. It's that simple. So expectations, these are things that you don't pay for. That's their role in the home. Make your bed, clean your room, start your day off the right way. Homework first when you get home from school. Dishes, trash, like do your part. There's no money attached. This is table stakes. Okay. Then this is where most parents go wrong. They don't give their kids expenses to be in charge of. You just nailed it with the app game, but we have 12 categories that you should systematically give to your kids to be in charge of. So by the time they get their license, these kids are covering everything. They're ready for the real world, man. So you start with like the toys, the games, the trinkets, social outings with friends, birthday presents for their friends' parties, right? Mm-hmm. My daughter, she just bought the present. She's 7 years old, Reagan. She earned her money in Gravy Stack. Every dollar she makes doing her gigs in Gravy Stack auto splits between saving and investing, sharing, and spend jars. And she gets her debit card right there in the bank account. So she took her money. She got the present for the birthday party. This is last weekend, man. She walks in with the present. Mm-hmm. Every single other kid's parents bought the presents. And the kid just chucked it on the table, didn't even know what it was. And they didn't even open the presents at the party, by the way. Halfway through the party, my daughter comes running up with the birthday boy, Dawson. There's boys and girls at this party, and they're at the ninja gym. Okay. They both run up, and Reagan's like, can Dawson open my present now? I want to see him. I want to see him open it. So they sit down right in the middle of the gym, and he opens her present, and he's beaming from ear to ear, and she's beaming from ear to ear. And she's like, because she made the money. And all the other parents are standing around like, what is going on right now? And I was like, oh yeah, Reagan, she's just learning generosity for the rest of her life, right? That's what happens when you give the kids expenses to be in charge of. It actually gives them more freedom and more trust from you and more responsibility, right? We had a dad in Gravy Stack just make his son pay for the cavity he got. Okay. Wow. $280 in his spend jar, gone just like that. That kid has been flossing and brushing his teeth twice a day without being told since.
Well, they're understanding the value of a dollar.
The value of a dollar. So, and if you give your kids expenses to be in charge of, it's actually a better form of love. Trust me. And you have hundreds of dollars a month now that you can now pay them in extra gigs, extra pay. That's the third E. So we set up this whole system where you have them do action gigs and brain gigs and things around the house to help you. And they're finding ways to create value every day. Sweep the garage, wash the windows, make a meal, organize a closet, clean a bathroom, yard work. And then we throw in the secret sauce, brain gigs, a podcast, a YouTube, a TED Talk, a book, canceling subscriptions in the house, right? The average family that does that one challenge in our program saves $547 average in like 1 hour of work for the kids do it. Like there's a ton of them, hundreds of these. Like plan the next family trip on a budget. What if your kids can do this as young as 8 years old. What if they plan the next trip you went on? Because they're going to own it. If they plan it, they're going to love it, every second of it. So what if they got 3 flights? What if they got 3 rental cars or Ubers, or where are you going to eat? Where are you going to stay? Get the best deals. They'll save you $1,000 and they'll love it. And what an unbelievable skills training, We have 100 of those. So when you give them these gigs, they see it not as chores. Chores is more homework. These gigs become, they turn on fire for these. They're hunting for ways to help around the house every single day. And they know that they now have an unlimited amount of money that they can earn at home or in the community, because they start doing community gigs after home gigs. So now they're just literally launched into doing these same things around the neighborhood to make extra money. And you're raising future adults instead of more children. That's the answer. If your kids do the home economy system, and we just made it easy in the app. It's like auto repeating gigs. They repeat daily, weekly, monthly. You get a print off for the fridge. It's just super automated. Because everybody tries to do this for like a week, and they write out a list on the whiteboard or an Excel sheet, and then they got to use tickets and points and stick. It's just a nightmare. And then they do it for a little bit and they quit. Our system just makes it super simple. And it's the only way kids learn to budget. It's the only way they learn the price of goods. It's the only way they learn trade-offs. Hey, Dad, I don't need the Air Jordans because I'm in charge of it for the basketball team. I'm good with the Adidas. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want your kids making those decisions. It's delayed gratification built in. They're never going to fight you over chores anymore. No more nagging them. And they're never going to ask you for money and stuff ever again.
Well, they're starting now to look at the cost of these goods, and they're going, man, I don't have that kind of money, and it's going to take me a long time if I have to earn that kind of money. So they start looking at things with a lot more value, and they start treating things with more respect. Just like, your 7-year-old daughter, where she was so excited. She had this sense of pride because she spent her own money, and she wanted to see the look on the face of the person that was receiving the gifts, because she knew what she did. It wasn't because Daddy put the money. She didn't give a shit, right? It's like, I spent this money and I want to see what reaction I'm going to get from them. And it's just like, my son's mom and I, my son's 12, and now he's starting to talk about, Dad, when I get my license, can I drive your Rolls Royce and stuff? I'm like, I don't think so. not for a few years. We're going to help you get a car. He goes, well, you going to buy me a car? I said, no, we're not going to buy you a car. Here's what's going to happen. And his mom is on the page with me here. It's like, you're going to get a summer job and you're going to save up money. And whatever you save, your mom and I are going to match. And you're going to take that money and you're going to get a car. So now you're putting in half, and you're going to pay your gas and you're going to pay your insurance. But we're going to help you with your first car. We're going to match what you save. If you save 1,000, you're getting 1,000. If you are really diligent, you work really hard, and you save 3,000, we're going to give you 3. But I know that he's going to take care of that car. He's going to be washing that car. He's going to be cleaning that car. He's going to make sure that he's not doing stupid things with it, because he knows anything happens, it's his money. It's his hard work. So what you are doing for families, I think, is amazing. I think it's so needed that it's been a long time where I'm watching kids grow up that are just so privileged. And I remember my son, he was probably about 5 years old, and his grandparents, my son's mom's parents, they had a very nice home. They have an indoor pool. And my son goes for a birthday party to some other boy's home, and he's about 5, and he walks to the kid. He goes, "Where's your indoor pool?" And the kid's like, "We don't have an indoor pool." "What? You don't have an indoor pool?" He's got this mentality that that's how people lived.
Yeah.
And I had to tell him, I said, "Son, not everybody lives like that. Like, it's like the top 1%. So I don't want you getting accustomed to that as the normal. It's not the normal." So at a very young age, we had to train his mindset that that's not how people live. And what you see at home is through hard work. Your grandfather worked very hard, but you can have that too if you work hard, but you got to work hard and you got to save. And, you know, it's just, I think it's the mindset of the kids today that are growing up and the Gen Zs that I don't even know what to expect with this newer generation today.
It's crazy. I mean, this is the battle of our generation, man. I think this war on entitlement is the biggest battle, I think, coming for families in the next generation, which is why we're doing this. Like our mission is 50 million families financially competent and ready to succeed in the world, with everything in Gravy Stack and dinnertable.com and everything that we teach. So I think, you know, Tony Robbins said this last month. So he asked me to come speak at Date with Destiny and basically share what we're doing and what we've learned from these 100 families. And he said something afterwards. He gave us a glowing endorsement for what we're doing. He's like, everybody needs to join this movement because this is critical for the next generation. He said, here's why. The next generation is literally day trading entitlement and victimhood as if it's currency. Wow. All you have to do to get likes and follows and comments and identity is go online and rail against something or talk about how you're a victim on something else.
What a powerful statement.
It's a powerful statement, and he's exactly right. I mean, this war on entitlement is huge, and so much of what families think that they're supposed to do is provide everything, pay for everything, give their kids like a bubble life, and then launch them into the world and expect them to be millionaires by the time they're 22 or 25.
They think that they're going to get rich overnight by day trading cryptocurrency or something, blockchain or something. And then I think I'm watching this younger generation grow up, and geez, they don't even want to work. Like they want to start at 10 o'clock and they want to have their 1 hour lunch break, and then they want to finish at 2 o'clock, and they don't want to do this and they don't want to do that. I watched a trending video of some guy at Starbucks crying because he had to work 7 hours, like, crying.
I saw that video.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I'm up at 5. I'm up at 5. I go till 7, 8 o'clock.
Yeah. There's a lot here. And I know for Gen Z, they're technologically savvy, yes. Right? They're super smart. They're engaged in the world more than any generation before. They care about certain things in our culture and the world. But I think that they think that they've been sold a bag of goods. You don't know this, but 67% of Gen Z thinks that we are in late stage capitalism. Mm-hmm. They don't think that this train's going to continue. Mm-hmm. They don't think that, like, what's the S&P today? 5,000?
Yeah. I think just had a record.
Yeah. Okay. So 30 years ago, what was it? 500?
Yeah.
So they're looking at this and they're going, how the hell is the S&P going to go from 5,000 to 50,000 to get the same return in 30 years that our parents or grandparents got? This thing ain't going to continue. And what I'm trying to teach them is, yes, it is. Like, you get what you think, guys, and there's going to be more opportunity in the next decade than ever before. Like, everyone sees all these innovations in technology and advancement and education and more, internet all over the world and more people entering out of dollar-day poverty. Like, they're seeing all of the advancements as losing jobs and we're all screwed. I see it as, if you truly understand what the economy is, it's the ever-increasing cooperation between strangers. That's what the economy is. Dollars changing hands, the velocity of dollars by value being created, not stolen, not Enron, and not crony capitalism, like straight up the increased cooperation between strangers. You don't think that's going to 10x in the next 30 years? I do. I absolutely.
For sure. And I think what they're doing is they're looking at the economy as just one big piece of pie, and
That's it.
it's finite. And if you're doing well, you're taking from me. No, if
Nope.
I'm doing well, you could do well too.
That's right.
The pie is not finite; it's infinite. And if you work hard, the one thing I think we can learn from the Gen Z is they're looking for ways of doing something in a shorter amount of time.
Yeah.
We
Efficient.
can efficiency. I think we can because they're looking for shortcuts, right? So
Yep.
there are some things I think we can learn from that.
Yep.
Gravy Stack. How did you come up with this idea for Gravy Stack? You know, was there a particular gap or something needed in the market that you wanted to address?
Yeah. Well, for starters, no one's learning it. And we learn from 7 million families now how to teach it, right?
Mm.
And if you can't homework money, and kids need to actually deal in real money to learn these skills, you've got to have real money involved. And so that's what we did with Gravy Stack is we took this home economy system thinking, and then we realized, okay, most kids, if they make 20 bucks, they think they can spend the 20, right?
Mm-hmm.
Either they're not making any money and they're expecting other people to pay for it. That's entitlement. Or they start making money, they blow all of it on very bad decisions. All right. So if you can automatically split those funds when they make them into saving and investing and sharing and generosity, and then into their spend account with a debit card, then they learn those habits automatically. This is good financial structure, right? You
Yes.
never want to put all your money into one checking account when you make it. If you can auto split it first, you go, oh yeah, okay, these decisions were made for me. No more mental stress to have to save after the fact. So we auto split these things and we teach these kids these principles. So they choose the percentage to go to each jar with mom and dad. Usually it's 30% savings on average, 10% sharing, 60% to spend. And they do the spend jar for their needs first and then wants. And the needs are just the expenses that mom and dad are passing off for them to be in charge of. That's as simple as that. And then the rest of it is they're saving and spending, they're setting goals. What am I wanting to get? Right? We love it when kids pay for their first phone because they'll take care of it for years to come. In fact, before you get the phone, you should do an Apple Watch because then they don't have to deal with all the stuff you're scared of them dealing with on apps and games and internet.
Mm-hmm.
And they can at least, you know where they are and they can contact you, right?
Yeah.
So they should pay for that. They should pay for half their car. They should pay for half their college if they go, right? 56% of college kids don't graduate and they still have all the debt.
Do you know Don Blanton from Money Tracks?
No, I don't know Don yet.
So Don Blanton, he's the owner of Money Tracks, Circle of Wealth, and I was just in Orlando for their annual conference, and he tells the story all the time that he said his kids went to college, and he said you're borrowing from your future, from whatever you think I'm leaving you, I'm deducting. So you better make good use out of college because you are paying for it. I'm not paying for it. I'm giving you a loan.
Yeah.
But you're actually paying for it. And I think
Yeah.
if parents approach it that way, because if something's just given, I'm going to pay for your education. He's not going to take studying seriously when the guys want to go to the pub. He's going to the pub too, especially if he's got an exam the next day. He's going to be going and partying, hanging out, and he's I don't give a shit. Dad's paying for it, whatever.
Yep.
But if they know that education they are paying for, kids just take things a hell of a lot more seriously.
Yeah. And think about this for a second. 85% of college graduates don't end up using their degree in their field of work.
Yeah.
College is great for learning to do homework and make good friends and hopefully not, drinking games and other things. But
Yeah.
But you have to really consider this, the ROI of college. I went to college, like I get it. I have a degree. I went and got a master's in entrepreneurship. I understand like there are benefits to this,
Yeah.
but you got to really, really think critically. Like college today is not the same as college 20 or 30 years ago. It's just not. Like you got to be careful about the propaganda machine. It's real. You got to be careful of having your kid get saddled in debt to go get a degree that doesn't have the job out in the marketplace to make it back.
Well,
Right?
it takes, I read a report that it takes the average on a minimum, it takes 10 to 20 years to pay back your student loan. And if you got a professional degree, it's up to 45 years to pay back your student debt. 45 years for a
45 years.
professional degree. The
And you
average
wonder
is 10 to
why-
20 years.
And you wonder why there's entitlement. They graduate and they think, I put the work in, I got the degree. Where's my 6-figure job?
Yeah.
Where is it? And what I'm trying to help families understand is we need to focus on skills, not degrees.
Yeah.
Skills are what the marketplace requires. There will be, I think that over half of the jobs in 10 years from today will be so different and so new that you won't have degrees today that cover them. And even in 10 years, you're barely going to keep up.
Mhm.
So the marketplace, it validates skill sets, not degrees. So with our kids, this is why we're doing Gravy Stack. We want them to be honing capabilities and skills. That's why these brain gigs and action gigs and community gigs are so powerful. Learn to create value first. One of the main things that we teach families is teach your kids to charge for results, not time and effort. That's a huge thing that I think almost no parent thinks about, because they want their kids to get an allowance or go get an hourly job, hourly wage, which is similar to allowance.
Yeah.
I don't want to drop any nuclear bombs on the conversation, but I think that people that get an allowance when they're growing up expect a salaried job when they're older.
Mm-hmm.
And if that salary job doesn't have really good accountability, project deadlines, bonuses built in, and all these other things, it's another version of allowance. They're expecting to get paid for existing.
That's what they're being trained to do.
It's what they're being trained to do. So there are so many opportunities out there for skills. The skills jobs are an immediate 6-figure job after a 6-month training for cheap. There's a lot of companies that will pay you to go through coding camps and trade schools and all these incredible things if you're just willing to look at it. But for some reason, we've seen that as second rate in our society. And it's not second rate. It's first rate. It's how the world goes round. I mean, I think there's going to be AI academies, machine learning academies. These are like short learning based programs that can certify you to go make massive impact in the world. And I think the big schools are going to have a big issue coming up pretty quick.
Yeah.
I'm already seeing it, but yeah.
You mentioned debit cards. Are you actually taking the kid to the bank, your child to the bank, actually open up a bank card and giving him an actual real debit card?
Yeah, they don't have to go to the bank though. It's right there through the app. So you download the Gravy Stack app, you launch, and by the time this episode comes out, it's free to download and go. You get your debit card, you get your save, spend, share accounts, and you're off to the races, giving your kids gigs and giving them expenses to cover, and it's all automated for you. So yeah, it's going to be a huge year for us getting this thing out to the whole world.
That's amazing. I know I'm definitely going to download the app for my kid and get him going too. You said you served over 7 million families. You must have some success stories of families who have used the Gravy Stack. Can you share maybe one or two of them?
Yeah, we've got a whole world here, and I got to make sure I'm clear. Dinnertable.com is like the umbrella.
Okay.
So if you're a parent that wants the coaching, you want the home economy course, you want the 7 family money skills, win the war on entitlement course. If you want to join us for a workshop that we talk through family legacy, it's a virtual workshop. Just go to info.dinnertable.com and click there and give us your info. And my gift today for everybody listening, I'll give them the 18 strategies because I've only walked you through a couple of them.
That's
so
amazing.
We'll give you guys the 18 strategies. So just go to info.dinnertable.com, put your info in, we'll send it to you. If you want to talk to our folks about how to get the app, how to get our book, how to join a course, we even have licensing now where advisors and insurance reps and business owners are getting certified in all of our content to give it to their whole community. Okay. If you want to do that, same place, info.dinnertable.com. But all the transformation stories I'm seeing are people that went through Dinner Table and Gravy Stack, and they're starting to see massive change within their marriage, their kids, their business, everything. So one of my favorites is we had a kid in Colorado, 12-year-old actually, same age as your son.
Mm-hmm.
He was we challenged him to see how much money he could make in a day mowing lawns. Okay. He made $71 and he was exhausted. It was like 8, 9 hours of work. Well, he was charging $9 an hour was his problem. And so then he went through the dinner table with his family, and then he realized, oh, I should be charging for results. So he would knock on doors, offer $40 a pop. And then he would do the whole thing in like 20 minutes because now it was all in results. And he made $1,000 on a Saturday doing it.
Wow.
And it changed his mindset forever. He's like, oh, now I can bring a couple of my buddies to do the work and I'm just going to go sell a bunch of these things. So now he's got this business off and running. Huge transformation right there. Because it's one thing to learn to work hard. It's another thing to learn to work hard and then smart. Yes. Right. And that's what we want our kids to be able to learn. So that's a massive transformation.
And that's teaching him entrepreneurship, getting paid for what you're worth.
Yeah, that's right. And here's the thing. Most parents hear the word entrepreneurship and they turn off. 95% of people hear the word entrepreneurship and they're not entrepreneurs. Only 5% of people are entrepreneurs. The other 95% of people, they go, yeah, that's just another word for like failing and losing all your money and risking everything. But here's what you need to understand.
Those are the ones that were getting an allowance growing up.
Yeah. I mean, we have to look at the roots of all this.
Yeah, yeah.
But only 5% of kids have that entrepreneurial DNA. They literally have the D2, D4 genetic mutation with a propensity to risk and like self-confidence through the nose. They can create value from nothing, right? The 95% of kids don't. This is where a lot of the people report, I don't want to talk about money. I don't want to deal with this. This is hard. It's a fight in the home. So how do you get them to learn these skills? Well, I think, and what we've seen is every kid doesn't have to become an entrepreneur someday, but every kid needs to learn to be entrepreneurial. Yeah. So when you're entrepreneurial, you're finding wants and needs all around you for other people. You're creating value for everyone around you. You're finding problems to solve. This is what makes for the leader of the group. This is what makes for a great friend. This is what makes for the captain of the team. This is what gets the person the job and gets the promotion fastest, is starting to think that way. So the more we can do that with our kids, the stronger they're going to become. It's basically like an unfair advantage for the future for them. That's the whole point of this. Is like, I think that family is the greatest source of inequality in the world. You know why? Because parents will do anything to give their kids an advantage. Anything. Yeah. And you want that, right? Because capitalism versus communism. Capitalism is unequal amounts of wealth. Communism is equal amounts of poverty.
Yes.
Right? Unfortunately, we have an education system that is just like communism. Equal grade to the lowest kid. I mean, it's like no kid left behind. You are literally weighting and grading to the lowest kid in the classroom. Don't ask questions. Don't work in groups. There's only one right answer. Regurgitate the stuff on a test so we can get Common Core passed and reach our funding goals. That's communism thinking. Capitalism, and every family thinks like a capitalist, if you want to think about your family for a second. Unequal amounts of wealth is the same in the family. They're going to do anything possible to get their kid a leg up in the world. Tutoring, they'll move to a zip code to get into that school district. They'll go to the team. They'll do whatever they can to give their kids a leg up. And good for them, right? I think dinner table and gravy sack is one of the best legs up you could ever give your kids or grandkids.
Well, you often hear parents say, I want to give you the life that I never had.
That's right. I mean, and you got to be preparing them for the life that you want them to have.
Yeah.
You think about that for a second. It's not giving them everything. It's preparing them to have everything.
That's really good. That's a very good distinction. And I want you to repeat that again, because this is really important for people to know. Don't give them the life, prepare them.
Let me say it another way. Yeah. Okay. I heard this from one of our 100 families. This guy's 80 years old, multi-billionaire. They gave all their wealth away to missions and widows and orphans, and their kids and grandkids and great-grandkids are unbelievable, man. Unbelievable family. He said this to me. He said, Scott, you can raise your kids right, and then you can have some fun spoiling the grandkids, and they won't be harmed. Or you can spoil your kids and I guarantee you'll be raising your grandkids.
Wow.
That's what I'm getting at here.
Yeah.
We want to prepare our kids. We're not raising future children. We're raising future adults. And the only way to raise future adults is to mimic the real world, okay, in a loving environment. You can mimic the real world in a loving environment. You don't have to bubble wrap them. Like they actually need to learn these things to thrive for the rest of their life. And guess what? It's going to be like the greatest feeling ever as an old person to watch your kids and grandkids thrive in the world.
Yeah.
It's the greatest feeling of pride rather than being regretful and saying, well, we did everything we could to provide and do everything for them. And now they're just like, their lives are a wreck. That's the worst feeling because you're only as happy as your least happy kid.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
That's true.
So why not set them up in the way they should go?
Tell our listeners how they can buy the books, and Gravy Stack, they can go on to their either Google Play Store or Apple iStore and download it.
Yep. Just download it and go for free. That's the easiest way. If you got kids ages 6 and up, all the way through college, Gravy Stack's the best app, hands down.
And how can they buy their book?
You can just go on Amazon, Value Creation Kid. It's a bestseller. You can get on Audible as well. And then we'll give you guys the 18 strategies of family legacy. If you want to learn more about home economy, our value creation tools, our pay to appoint plans, and then stop, the heritage over inheritance training that we do, all those strategies, we'll just give you those. Just go to info.dinnertable.com. That's
amazing. Scott, how can people find you? Like you're on Instagram, obviously, Facebook, yep. You're on the social media.
All the socials. It's just, I'm Scott Donnell. Amazing. Pretty simple as that.
Scott, this has been a really great, courageous conversation. I love it. I think we've added so much value today to our listeners. I know you got a lot going on. You said with some licensees, you got some projects and ventures coming up for 2024?
Yeah, we're licensing. Our number one focus right now is how can we get an army of people helping us spread this movement? Yeah. So dinnertable.com, we license coaches. So if you have a business with employees or clients and you want to give them our content, sign up as a licensee. If you want to turn this into a 6-figure business in a box and you can coach and give this to all of the families in your life or your clients or the local schools, you literally can coach and charge and sell our programs and products and get this for your own family, become a licensee. So our number one focus right now is let's license as many people as we can to train on this and get the word out and create this movement.
Love it. Love it. This has been great. We are out of time for today. Thank you so much for joining me. This has been a wonderful conversation. Everybody, if you like this episode, please like and share it. Get the message out. It needs to get out that we have to educate our children and teach them about money. Thank you so much, Scott. Thanks for joining me. Are you going to be in Denver at Caleb's event in June? Will I see you there again?
I'll be there. Yeah, he's going to be a licensee. He's going to license our stuff for everybody. So it's good.
Amazing. I will see you in June.
Thanks, buddy. It's awesome.
Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourself and your health.